Welcome back to another edition of Our City. Now that we're moving into the middle of July, I hope all of you are enjoying the summer months. And a few things going around the city of Elizabeth this week. On Thursday, July 14th at 11 o'clock in the morning in City Council chambers, I will be part of a swearing-in ceremony for the police department where we hire new police officers in our city. It's in the chambers located on the 3rd floor. Later that evening, I'm going to join members at 6 o'clock in the evening of the Colombian community for the raising of the Colombian flag outside of City Hall. Immediately following that, there will be a cultural music event featured in the City Council chambers. The Elizabeth Destination Marketing Organization will kick off their sail aboard the A.J. Meerwald, New Jersey's official tall ship event. This boat will be in Elizabeth from July 15th through July 17th. For more information, pricing, and tour schedules, please call 908-355-9696. I'm also going to be joined later in the show by freeholder Betty Jane Kowalski, who's going to discuss the county and their partnership in making this happen in the city of Elizabeth. If you need more information concerning these events or any other events, please call our Public Information Office at 908-820-4124. And after these messages, I'm going to be pleased to be joined by the freeholder from the city of Cranford, Betty Jane Kowalski. Please stay with us.
Offering everything you could want from college, including a life. Kane University.
Welcome back to our city, where I'm joined by freeholder Betty Jane Kowalski. Freeholder, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm very pleased to be here.
Now, you've done these before, whether it be the county or the city, right? You're an old hand at this.
Well, I don't know if we'd say that, but it's always a pleasure to talk to you and to talk about the city of Elizabeth. You've got a lot of good things going on this summer, I know.
Freeholder, how long have you been now? You've been there a while.
12 years.
12 years. Yeah. And Freeholder, you attend a lot of events in Elizabeth.
Oh, I try to. Well, since our Cultural and Heritage Affairs office is right in Elizabeth, I've got a good reason to connect with all the great things going on culturally with Elizabeth, and of course the county seat is Elizabeth. So
are you the liaison to
yeah.
that committee, or the chair
Yes.
of that committee? Is that how that works?
I am the liaison.
Tell our viewers how that works.
Well, the freeholders, there are 9 of us. We all are assigned to different committees and different advisory boards, and the Office on Cultural and Heritage Affairs is one of mine. I also serve on the Human Services Advisory Council and a bunch of other things. But you know, we try to keep up with what's going on and hope people let us know when we miss something.
No, you don't miss many, Freeholder. We appreciate it. I'm told that the Union County Office on Women, that you were instrumental in establishing that here in Union County, but it's also one of the first ones in the state.
Well, we are
the first in the state.
We are very happy to have. Yeah, it is the first in the state, as far as I know. One of the things about government in New Jersey is it is kind of complicated for people.
No kidding.
Even for those of us who are involved, it's complicated. But for someone looking from their community, it can be very challenging to find out, where do I go for services? Where do I go for information? We realized that for women, there was no one place where women could go and find out about services available to them.
That's because men made all the rules back then, right?
Well, I'm not going to comment on that one. So we set up this office. Jennifer Erdos is heading it up. Its purpose is to make services available to women, help women make connections to whatever services they might need. And Jennifer is ready to take calls and deal with emails and deal with contact with anyone who's interested in finding out more. So I could give you the phone number if you want to do that here.
Sure, if you have the phone number, that'd be great.
908-527-4216.
And it's geared towards the needs of women.
Yes.
And organizations that may be helpful for
Right.
whatever needs they have.
Right.
Whether it be health care, whether it be senior care.
Right. Social services, any senior services, anything involving women, because Jen works within the county and can make those connections to all the different offices so that women can find out where is the best place that's going to serve their needs. We have had a committee called the Commission on the Status of Women for many years. Some people may have heard about the annual dinner that we have awarding women.
Right.
Yes, you've been there, Mayor. And a number of women from Elizabeth, of course, have been honored at these. And so Jen works with this commission and also with all the different county offices. So, we're just starting out, but I think it's going to be very helpful to women.
So not only have you hinted about your cultural attaché
Right.
roles, but you also enjoy history, as I do.
Oh, of course.
And the upcoming Hamilton program at Snyder Academy that I mentioned at the beginning of the show,
Right.
I also mentioned it on last week's show.
Okay.
The county freeholders play a very supportive role. Tell us about your efforts in the county freeholders as well.
Well, we work with the Elizabeth Destination Marketing Organization, our Cultural and Heritage Affairs folks, that includes our historians and our people involved in the arts, are always working with your arts people in the city of Elizabeth. And in this case, it's at Snyder Academy on July 8th. Everyone is very excited about the Alexander Hamilton craze that's going on these days with the big show on Broadway, but not everyone knows that Alexander Hamilton spent some time here in Elizabeth. He went
a lot of time in his formative years.
Yeah, when he was a young man. And Boxwood Hall, which is one of Elizabeth's historic sites. I know you've been there many times. He stayed there with the Boudinot family and at a very formative period of his life. So John Rua, who is a member of the cast, is going to be speaking at this event on July 8th at Snyder Academy, and we hope that people will come out.
He's an Elizabeth
and
and Linden guy, I'm told.
Yeah.
He was born in Elizabeth and grew up in Linden.
Oh, okay.
So he's a Union County guy,
Right.
John Rua, which is exciting to have him here that Friday.
Yeah, I know it's going to be an exciting event.
It is, and we thank you, the Freeholder Board. You also support it not only through media, but financially. The Freeholder Board supports these events.
Yes.
And the cultural affairs attaché that you do. Now, we talked about this tall ship that's coming to us.
Right.
What is a tall ship?
A tall ship is a ship that sails, basically. A lot of the young people today don't have much of an idea of what happened for transportation and communications 2 centuries ago. This tall ship, it's kind of like the tall ships that came into New York Harbor for the bicentennial of the nation back in the 70s.
Then, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it's a ship that is powered by sails. It has masts that are 70 feet high. It's about 115 feet long. And the purpose of it is to give people of all ages. Of course, we want to encourage young people to come and visit, but people of all ages to find out about how a sailing ship works. This ship, the A.J. Meerwald, was built in 1928, and it was first an oyster schooner and went up and down the New Jersey coast, then went through a few different transformations, and was out of use for a bit, and then was brought back, was restored, and now it's coming to Elizabeth. We had it here docked over at Elizabeth Port last week. I was able to get over there and have a quick look at it. Captain Jesse Briggs gave us a little bit of an intro to what they do.
So there's a captain assigned to this?
Yes. And he has a team of staff and volunteers
So
who
he's a
stay
paid
at the
member
ship.
and there's a staff?
Right.
Right. Okay.
And they want people to see what happens with a sailing ship, how it worked out on the seas. You could take a tour. You can go sailing. There's free events where people can go on and just look around, and then there's also the sails, which there's a price for, and people can get information about that from your website.
Yeah, we announced that on the website. So,
Right.
So you went. This was out there last Sunday, right, for the event on the Juneteenth event.
Actually, it was during the week.
During the week it was there?
Yeah.
Did you go on it?
Yes, I did. It was, and got to look at some maps of what the Arthur Kill looks like. When they're not docked here in Elizabeth, they travel to other ports, but their home base is at a place called Bivalve, New Jersey, near Port Morris on the coast along the Delaware Bay, a little bit north of Cape May.
I'm glad you know where that is, Freeholder, because I had no idea.
I never heard of bivalve until I looked it up.
Neither did I. Oh, you looked it up, see? I don't have to look it up now because you told me. Byville, New Jersey. So it's actually on the Delaware.
I think there's the oyster connection there.
Right. Yeah, that's probably right. Could you see on the ship where they actually scoop the oysters up and put them? And that's all been redone?
There's a hold in the ship, which I imagine is where they put the oysters. They can show people how, their navigation.
Are there sleeping quarters on this ship?
I think there are, yeah.
Underneath, yeah. But nobody's doing that anymore. But back then in the day, maybe, yeah.
Probably not the most comfortable.
No, I can imagine.
But if you're comfortable on the high seas, maybe not so bad.
Yeah, that's true. So the A.J. Meerwald, I don't know who A.J. Meerwald was. He must have been somebody that had something to do with the building of that ship.
I believe that it was the Meerwald family, but I don't have a lot of info on that.
Yeah, we're gonna. You know what we can do is that'll be our challenge before the event to make sure we know who A.J. Meerwald was.
Right. Yeah.
So another question for you, it's going to be used in Elizabeth. You talked about, can they just walk up there and schedule a sailing trip for those 2 days, or at some other point when it's docked down in South Jersey?
They could go to South Jersey. They can, whenever they want to go on the ship, it's a good idea to make the reservations ahead of time, to go to the website, whether they're doing it while it's here docked in Elizabeth or while it's in Bivalve. The ship only holds 41 people, so if we get a big crowd, you want to have your reservation in ahead of time.
Can it sail with 41 people on it?
That's what I've been told.
41 people.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a lot of people. This must be pretty big.
Well, 115 feet long.
Yeah, that's true. That's really big.
Yeah.
Do you know the fee for this thing? There's a fee, but we don't know what the fee is.
Yeah, there's a list of different fees for different
So it depends on how
events.
long, that type of thing.
Right.
And the person who's booking it should inquire.
Right.
Good. So one more question before the break. And did the freeholders get this ship? Who brought this ship here? The Edmo you talked about?
Edmo, Elizabeth Destination Marketing, with working with our Cultural and Heritage Affairs Office. Crossroads of the American Revolution is another historical organization that works to get this kind of thing going, because it's in all of our interests to remember our history, to let the young people find out a little bit about it, about how Captain Briggs talked about how important it is to keep our waterways clean. And of course, centuries ago, they didn't have the kind of pollution that can threaten the waterways now. But of course, Elizabeth and all of our cities are working on it, and we want to raise everyone's consciousness so we can keep the seas in good condition for all of us.
Yeah, I think it's a really important point you just mentioned. I think it's really special that collectively we should be teaching the young people about the historic nature of our communities, especially this area.
It's very historic.
Freeholder, if you'll stay with us, we're going to run some commercials, come back and talk more about not only the A.J. Meerwald, but your role on the Union County Freeholder Board as well.
Thank you.
Please stay with us after these messages. I'll be back with more with Freeholder Betty Jane Kowalski.
We're an American original, dependable, historic, nuanced, with all the comforts of home, even when you're just visiting. So we're celebrating for all that we've left untouched and all that we've changed. A place where the past meets the future. So consider this your invitation.
We've been celebrating here in Elizabeth for 350 years, and we're just getting started. Welcome back to our city, where I'm pleased to be joined by the freeholder who comes from Cranford of Union County, freeholder Betty Jane Kowalski. Freeholder, we had a really interesting conversation in the first part of the show, and one of the things, I was wondering if there's any memory that stands with you when you walked on that ship. What did you think about walking on a ship that's practically 90 years old, and the history of that ship that was, as you said earlier, was created by the Meerwald family,
Right.
named the A.J. Meerwald.
Okay.
And you talked about educating young people. So what were your thought process?
Well, it was a beautiful, warm, sunny day. A few clouds in the sky. I could see the contrast between this ship with its sails and its masts and holds and wooden deck and the modern city of Elizabeth. And it just lets everyone know how far we've come, but how in many ways we stand on the shoulders of all the people who have built on Elizabeth and all along our coast before us. Well, I mean, of course, I don't need to tell you of how important Elizabeth is to the history of New Jersey. Just recently, we were celebrating the 350th anniversary of Elizabeth. Elizabeth has so many of our historic buildings. Snyder Academy, where we'll be celebrating Hamilton soon, is right next to the First Presbyterian Church. In fact, Snyder Academy didn't Hamilton go to school there?
He went
for a
on that
time?
site.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Site. Yeah, that's where you went to school. Not at the same time, but Aaron Burr went to school there as well. And then they wound up in that famous duel in Weehawken 30 years later, roughly
yeah.
30 years later. You talked about where the ship was not docked, when it's not in Elizabeth, it's in the Delaware. Does it travel to other coastal cities, do you know? Are you aware?
I think it basically stays around New Jersey. Its mission is to educate people around New Jersey. So it's got the Bayshore Center was established in the 1980s, and that's a nonprofit foundation that supports the Meerwald and other educational efforts.
Okay. You were at a press conference not long ago, kicking this event off.
Right,
How did that
right.
press conference go?
Oh, we had a good time. I was there with Gordon Haas and with representatives from Crossroads of the American Revolution, and of course Captain Briggs, and we had.
He must have a passion for this, right, Freeholder?
Oh,
The
I
captain?
think so.
Yeah.
He probably spends a good part of his life on that ship.
Wow. You hinted about it. Let's maybe explore more detail.
Okay.
And that's the A.J. Meerwald's call attention to the city's waterways, in particular the Revolutionary War. Your answer to the first question in kicking off the second segment was really profound, and I was wondering, can you explain a little more about what your thought process is on a ship like this, how it went up and down the waterways of not only our city but our region?
Well, here we are in Elizabeth. As I said, there's modern signs of modernity all around. Elizabeth is a major port. We've got a big airport nearby. But here was a ship that was powered by nature. The wind in the sails, that's what sailors of the sailing ship days counted on. They navigated by the stars at night and by charts during the day. They counted on the wind, and if there wasn't a wind, they had some trouble.
Didn't go anywhere, right?
So for all of our modern conveniences, even today, we're finding now that wind power is something that can be useful even for modern energy purposes. And
It's interesting we're back to that, right?
Right. Yeah.
Really interesting. That's a really good point. So, in wrapping up some of the cultural and affairs initiatives, you've been active in this for your years of service on the Freeholder Board. Tell us other things that are going on in the Cultural and Historic Affairs Division of Union County.
Okay. Well, as far as the Cultural and Heritage Affairs Office is involved in working with all of the historical societies for our 30-some historic sites around the county, and now we're working up towards the 4 Centuries in a Weekend, which happens the 3rd weekend in October every year. Everyone participates in this. The cultural sites often will have people in costume leading special tours. We invite everyone to come and find out the history of that particular place. Of course, Boxwood Hall is important. Also Liberty Hall, the earlier governor's mansion, here on Morris Avenue in Union. There's often we'll have reenactments of Revolutionary War scenes. We'll have soldiers in uniform with muskets. So it's really it's a great thing for young people to see, and some of our schools, in fact, take advantage of the thing that we have called a little passport for the kids. When they go to each historic site, they get their passports stamped and then bring it back and talk about it with their class and maybe get a little bit of credit from their teacher.
Oh, that'd be pretty cool. Were you at the reenactment where they walked up Elizabeth Avenue a couple of years ago?
Yes, I was.
And they had
You
the
were
skirmish.
there.
I was there, and they had the
Right,
skirmishes
yeah,
on the way up.
right,
It was
yes.
pretty neat to watch.
It's amazing to think of the things that happened years ago here in Elizabeth, and of course, if people come to the Hamilton event at Snyder Hall, they can also take a walk around the cemetery right between Snyder Academy and the First Presbyterian Church, where many people from the Revolutionary era were buried. We had Reverend
Caldwell,
yes, and of course Hannah Caldwell, whose ghost has sometimes been cited in the Union County Courthouse.
I read those stories. I think they show up in Sed Delia's office. That's probably where they wind up. Elizabeth is a transportation hub between its ports, airports, highways, and as a freeholder, besides cultural affairs,
Right.
you're also working on transportation initiatives with the county. Tell us about some of those.
Well, we are really hoping that the Transportation Trust Fund gets renewed, because this is so vital for keeping our roads in good shape, also for funding the railroad. I have been very much involved with the Raritan Valley line, which runs across the county, Plainfield to Elizabeth and into New York, or to Union into New York. And one of the things that we've accomplished is we've been able to get direct service rather than having to switch in Newark. We get a ride that goes straight into New York City, which is a benefit for travelers, because who wants to get out and switch trains if you don't have to, and it cuts the time and makes it more convenient. So
My wife's one of those people that switches trains.
well, we're working on expanding that service.
Do they have it on some days or off hours or something?
It's only off hours on the weekday. We want to get it on the weekends as well, for people who, say, want to go to a show in New York or have some reason to go into the city in New York. Yeah.
I was not aware of that, so it's
No.
not off hours on the weekends.
Not yet. We're working on it.
Those tunnels, you're right, they need to be worked.
Because infrastructure, as you know, needs to be expanded in our area, and until we get another tunnel into New York, the New Jersey Transit has told us that we're not going to be able to have full-time one-seat ride service, because there just isn't enough room on the tracks.
Freeholder, I want to thank you for taking the time to join us on the show this evening.
My pleasure.
I appreciate all of your help from
Thank you,
the
Mayor.
Union County Freeholder Board, and especially all the times you show up at our events. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your leadership, Mayor.
For Freeholder Betty Jane Kowalski, who may hail from Cranford, but she supports Elizabeth in a really big way, we thank her for taking the time to join us on this show, and we'll see you next week on another edition of Our City.
Why do we like it here? Let's just say the reasons are diverse. Kane